He modified this satellite. He modified with a 10 gigahertz bandwidth beam. So he beamed down from space. He positioned it over Giza, and from space he beamed down 10 gigahertz bandwidth, and that bandwidth is designed to pick up minute vibrations in the earth, minute seismic activity. I mean, very, very tiny, tiny vibrations. And it goes down miles. It went down over 2 miles beneath the bedrock. And then all that vibration data is sent to a supercomputer, and then that supercomputer sorts out empty space versus physical space. And then it renders an image of what's beneath. And what came back were these megalithic columns going down 2 miles beneath the earth under the Giza Plateau. Now, these columns I rendered in my book, an image of them, my book that came out 7 years ago called Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. On page 34, I show Giza bedrock, the pyramids on top, and an opening beneath, and I show columns going down, and I said they go on for miles. And then I have a quote from Herodotus, who says he had seen this underground area and said it rivaled anything that the Greeks could ever build. At the bottom of this, which you can't see here, there are these megalithic boxes. They don't even know what they're made out of. They're super massive, and I measured the cubic space. Each one can fit 64,000 people inside of it. And there's 8 of them. These massive columns have this huge coil going around the outside. One of these columns would be the width of 1/2 of this room. And maybe halfway going back, that would be one column. And then imagine that going down 2 miles nonstop. What kind of construction is this? And whatever's going around looks like a coil. It's not a staircase, it's some type of a massive coil. They did a LiDAR scan down there, and they found energy moving back and forth underneath this area. The crazy part is in the Emerald Tablets, Thoth talks about having built the halls of Amenti underneath the pyramid. That's just one of many halls of Amentis. And this halls of Amenti is a place where 2 things are located: rejuvenation chambers, where he would transfer his mind into new bodies. There were these sarcophagi down there made of diorite, crystal diorite, that he would put a body in, one of his own bodies, not somebody else's body, fashioned bodies like avatars. And when his body wore out, he would put it inside of one of these chambers, and he would transfer his consciousness into that body. And then the other body he would put in another chamber, let it rejuvenate. Then he would come out of the other one and walk amongst men, he says, but unlike a man. So there were these avatars walking amongst us in these meat suits that we thought were us, or thought were, people or advanced beings as we labeled them. But they were really not immortal, but they understood how to obtain a certain level of immortality through transferring their mind into new bodies. Also down there, I don't know why it keeps doing that. Also down there is portals. He said that there's stargates beneath the pyramid, and he would utilize that to walk from one place on earth to another. And so all this stuff is down there. Let me give you an idea of the size. Anybody here been to the Burj Khalifa in Dubai? Okay, a couple of people. I went to the top of the Burj Khalifa. Did you go to the top, Hazel? Yeah. When you look at the skyscrapers, they look like ants down there, don't they? Right? You look out the window, you look at the skyscrapers that when you're on the ground, you're like this. From the top of the Burj Khalifa, they look like this. This is how big this building is. Now imagine in your mind fitting 6 of those underneath the pyramid. Can you go to any contractor on earth and say, hey, I want to book you. I got a little light work. I need you to slice open this bedrock precisely in a way that it can get back together with no seams and no cracks and won't collapse. And then beneath it, I need you to carve out enough space to build 6 Burj Khalifas. I got $100 trillion. They will still say no. It's impossible. We couldn't do this today. If we'd started working on this, it would take 100 years, forget about it. And the labyrinth that exists down there goes on beyond the 2 miles in different directions. There's a tunnel down there that leads from the Giza pyramids all the way to the ziggurat of Ur in Iraq, 300 miles away. Who carved that tunnel? The vitrification boring machine technology. They had a similar technology No need for excavation. They just bored tunnels all over the place. There's tunnels leading in all different directions under Giza. They did ground penetrating radar from space to the Giza Plateau around the sand area at Giza. 200 more pyramids buried underneath the sand. When they analyzed this, they discovered that the sand wasn't from there. So somebody purposefully buried more pyramids at Giza, and we'll see that more of this through this presentation. Can you imagine building? The pyramids themselves on top are like, whatever. Now I'm like, I mean, it's nice, you know. What's underneath is more miraculous. It should be the only thing being talked about in school and engineering on CNN, other than the Epstein files. This should be number 2. Epstein, that's important. I'm not gonna lie to you. That shit's important. We ain't gonna let that slide. I don't care about no aliens. I don't want to hear about no UFOs. I don't give a damn. Okay? I don't give a damn. I want to know who the hell's in them files. But on top of that, we got to get this information out. So, what the ground scan reveal: uniform column spacing. Columns appear at regular intervals, suggesting deliberate architectural planning, not a geological accident. Pre-dynastic dating. We're talking about the land of Kemet, ancient Kemet, long before it was called Egypt. The depth analysis suggests construction predating the known Egyptian civilization. Egypt inherited what was already there. Energy conduction and hypothesis says that granite composition and positioning align with theories of piezoelectric charge and channeling from bedrock. So we know that the way this area was designed, as water was sent through the rock beneath magnetized crystal granite, it created something called physiostatic electricity or piezostatic electricity, which would send positive ions up into the grand gallery, and then that would get shot up into the king's chamber, and then you had cold fusion inside the king's chamber. So this was a giant power generating system, an energy source. And then you had suppressed research. Multiple independent teams have reported the findings of Egyptian authorities, and the Egyptian authorities came back right away without looking at any data and said, oh, no, don't look at it, this ain't real. Look at the UFOs. We're gonna release the documents. Distractions, instant distractions. So we have the Osiris shaft, which is a multi-level enigma. This shaft is, first of all, my guide had to lose about 40 pounds just to fit down this shaft from years ago. Muhammad Ibrahim, great guy. It's a challenge. To get down this shaft is a challenge, and we did it. Discovered on the Giza Causeway, first excavated by 𝗩𝗓𝗦𝗧. Now, who knows about 𝗩𝗓𝗦𝗧? Okay, this guy is a charlatan. He's one of these guys that just hide and suppress all the discoveries, and then if somebody makes a discovery, he says, no, that's fake, and then about a month later he goes, I found this. He's like, this is mine, I discovered this. And then, you know, so he's always trying to take claim, and unfortunately he's been given a lot of leeway to suppress a lot of the information. Recently he had Mr. Beast at the pyramids, and he took him to the Sphinx, and he opened up one little area behind the Sphinx where we know there's this massive tunnels. He'd open up one little area where the tunnel dead ends at the Sphinx's base, and he goes, oh yeah, there's nothing down here. When I've been down there, and there's tunnels that go on for miles in all directions. There's even something a mile beneath the Sphinx itself, according to ground penetrating radar scans. So he lied about that. But that's what we're dealing with, a lot of suppression and oppression of information. But the engineering required to carve this structure through solid bedrock, install giant granite elements at an incredible depth, and manage water filtration raises profound questions. How in the hell did they do this? They didn't do this with chicken bones and copper chisels, is what I'm trying to tell you. That's what they said in mainstream. They had chicken bones and copper chisels, and they carved this elaborate underground labyrinth at the Osiris shaft, and somehow miraculously were able to get water filtration and air and everything else circulating, and it just didn't happen. But no matter where you go around the world, you discover that all these cultures were really building megaliths underground, and they utilized them too. It wasn't like they just built them and didn't use them, they used them. In the Sumerian tablets, Enki talks about building his abode underground. So he built an underground city. So that's the oldest account I've ever heard of building an underground city. What about you, Brian? You know any? Same thing, right? Brian knows that text, top, front to back. And so then we have, so the Osiris shaft level by level. The first level, entry-level shaft carved through 𝗪𝗧 limestone, which is not that hard to carve through. Relatively simple construction. Level 2, intermediate chamber, more refined masonry, evidence of ritual use, corridors narrow and turn, and they suggest controlled access and initiation pathways. And then we have level 3, the submerged vault. That's the harder one to get into. The deepest level with water-filled chambers, granite sarcophagus on an island platform, and the pillar construction rivals surface monuments with extreme precision. It's carved down to the nth degree. It's almost laser carved down there in complete darkness, which means they had light. There's no soot in any of these chambers, which means they didn't use torches. So in some way they had artificial lighting systems. The tunnel networks connecting the pyramids. Now there are massive interconnectedness between pyramids all around the world with tunnel systems. So for decades, researchers have proposed that the 3 great pyramids of Giza, along with the Sphinx, are connected by a subterranean tunnel network. And this network was actually discovered. Ironically, the last time that I was here doing a post-conference lecture in this exact room, I was talking about something similar, not particularly all the connections, but just specifically the ones leading from the Sphinx. And I talked about the Hall of Records written about in Edgar Cayce's work, and the fact that beneath the Sphinx there's a massive area and there's a Hall of Records down there. In the Emerald Tablet, Thoth talks about leaving a ship beneath the Sphinx's paw. And he says, far in the future, an enemy will come from the deep, and that who can release my ship will defeat them with ease. So he's saying that in some way, there was some type of technology beneath the Sphinx. This is written 36,000 years ago, by the way. There's some tech beneath the Sphinx that can be somehow teleported out if you understand how to do it, and you can defeat these intruders or invaders. That's some crazy stuff to be writing 36,000 years ago. People were supposed to be hunter-gatherers, Neolithic people, trying to protect the village, trying to find some food, right? Get some fresh fish, you know, maybe snatch up an antelope. And then all of a sudden say, you know what, I think I want to take a break and write a sci-fi movie. I'm really feeling this space invader thing right now. I don't think that happened. I think what happened was there was an advanced civilization here. This particular guy who ruled over the land of ancient Kemet for 16,000 years, according to the ancient Egyptians. One man ruled for 16,000 years, and that's even a small amount of time compared to the Sumerian kings list, where people were ruling for 28,000 years, 36,000 years. That's the ruling time periods, and that's located in the British Museum. No, that's located in the Oxford, the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, England. So if you go to the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, England, you can go in there and see this tablet with the ruling time periods leading back to 200 and something thousand years of ruling period with only a small handful of people. Their lifespans were immense. And it also shows here in the writings of Thoth that his lifespan was also immense. And they talk about this Hall of Records. So you have these, the GPR anomalies. Multiple independent radar surveys detected rectangular voids beneath the Sphinx's paws, consistent with constructed chambers that are not natural cavities. You have Edgar Cayce's prophecy. In the 1930s, Edgar Cayce described an Atlantean archive beneath the Sphinx containing records. Long before the penetrating radar even existed, he already predicted this. Edgar Cayce, if you didn't know, the sleeping prophet, he would get into this transcendental state, kind of between wake and sleep, and he would come up with these prophetic statements, even healing people, naming what they had and what the cure would be to make them better. Access denied. Repeated requests to excavate beneath the Sphinx have been denied by Egyptian authorities. Now, the last time I was here, what I was going to finish with, there was a gentleman sitting right where you're sitting, ma'am. And I'm telling a similar story about beneath the Sphinx, and that there was a documentary airing. It was like on a Thursday night on Discovery Channel. They were going to reveal what they discovered beneath the Sphinx live on TV, on the Discovery Channel. As a show time period comes up at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it goes to a black screen. This show has been canceled. I said, what the hell? Never forgot about it. So I told that story 2017 right here in this room, and a man sitting in your seat pulled out his business card and his journalist ID and said, that was my docuseries I was the one that had produced the entire show and series, and they pulled it and gave me a gag order. He said, beneath the Sphinx was something massive about a mile deep, and we were going to reveal it to the world.